I'm Cynthia, and I'm the host of the reality series CPS the Horror Stories. And I'm not a social worker, I'm not an attorney, but I am a mother who has experience with CPS as my two children were kidnapped in 2016. And I was given my kids back after 2 years of fighting for them. But the reason that I do this show is just to bring the truth out and shine light on the destruction and traumatic events that are caused by the Department of Child Protective Services and how it is a billion-dollar industry. It's not about protecting children, it is all about the money. So, Jackie, would you like to introduce yourself? Tell me where you're from, what you do, how many children, I'm sorry, I have the hiccups,
It's okay.
how many children you have, and so on and
Yeah,
so forth.
of course. So yeah, my name's Jackie. I'm from Massachusetts. Um, I have two children, and I'm a stay-at-home mom. I have I have a 4-year-old, but she's turning 5 in 2 days, and I have a five-month old. I just had a baby. So yeah, and I've had two. We call it DCF here, not CPS. But so if I say DCF, I'm talking about CPS. I've had two cases with them. I've been through two. I mean, I have one that's closed 4 years ago for my daughter, and now I have one open now, an ongoing case.
Okay. Um, do you have experience as a child in the foster system?
I don't.
Okay. Um, why did CPS get involved with you in, in the first place a few years ago?
Yeah, so I I'm in recovery, so I'm on the methadone clinic. So anytime you have a baby on methadone, they come. So when I had my first daughter, I had all clean drug screens in my pregnancy. And when I went to the hospital, I tested clean. And then when I had my daughter, she came up dirty for opiates. So I don't know. After she had been taken from the hospital, I had gotten my hospital papers. They had given me Tylenol with codeine, and um, there is fentanyl in your epidural, which usually doesn't go to the child. So I think it was the Tylenol with codeine because I was tested as soon as I got there before I was medicated or anything, obviously. So she was taken for 8 months, even after we found out that it was because of medication that I was given. I still had to go through, they pretty much said, if we had known that, then we wouldn't have taken her. But now that we have to go through the process of getting her back. So it took me 8 months. They returned her when she was 8 months old to me. The weirdest thing is that they just dropped her off. They never came back. They just closed the case there. They never checked back in or anything. And this was my first child, so I did pretty much get handed an 8-month-old with no, I never had a baby, you know what I mean? So, but obviously we, as mothers, just adapt and are able to take care of our kids. So, I went a long time without DCF in my life. And the only reason they came back into my life is because I had another baby. Now, this time I tested clean, he tested clean. There was no issues there. But they opened a case on me anyways because of my past history with the department. So my case started fine. I had an emergency C-section with my son. His heartbeat was dropping drastically, and I was like very ill in my pregnancy. I had a very hard pregnancy, and I like kept complaining that something was wrong, but finally I dragged myself into the hospital like at like 8 months, and I was rushed into surgery to have him. So I had a spinal, pain meds, all that. So I take him home and Hold on, you're muted. I can't hear you.
I'm sorry. Are you married, by the way?
No, I'm not. I'm a single mom. So I take him home, and then I just go back to normal life. I'm drug tested at my clinic. My first drug test came back a couple days after I had him for fentanyl, which is in a spinal. So they cleared that, and they said it was fine. My next drug test, like a week or two later, came back again positive for fentanyl, and then they said that it was probably still in my system, and they didn't care about it. And then so then I started getting nervous. I'm like, why is this happening to me? So I started drug testing myself at my house, and they were coming back clean. So when I went to take my third drug test, which is like, I don't know, maybe like a month and a half out after having him, it failed again. And I knew that it didn't. I knew that I wasn't dirty. So I called right away and reported it to them. And I said that I had another failed screen, and I'm not sure what's going on here, but I know I drug tested myself first, and I recorded the drug test that I took at my house, which I know doesn't, like, they're never going to take that as like evidence or anything, but I just did it to show them, and they at that time implemented a safety plan for me to move in with my mom and stay there with my kids. And she was to supervise, I was to still parent my kids, but she was to supervise, and I was not to be alone with my kids. And I fought to have that retested, and they wouldn't do it. So I started looking into the lab that this place was using, and the lab has like countless accusations of screens being messed up, like literally over and over and over and over and over again, just bad reviews. So I was like, is this, maybe all labs have these reviews of people? So I looked up other labs, and none of them have any bad reviews. It's just this one. So I started asking if I could do my screen somewhere else, and I would pay for it. Yeah. Like an independent lab, and they refused. They said it had to come from there, no matter what. And so I started doing my own screens when I would do the screens there. And my next screen came up fine, clean. And so I was supposed to just be at my mom's for like just until I had like one clean drug screen, and then I was supposed to go back, but they just kept extending it. And they also were forcing me to go to court and put a co-guardianship between me and my mom, which is not, you can't do that. In Massachusetts, as a parent, you can't become a co-guardian. It's not something that they'll do under probate law. So I had lawyered up at this point. I hired a lawyer, and she was telling them this isn't something that's possible, and they said, we want you to do it. It cost me a lot of money, and it was concerning because going into court for that opened up custody for my daughter, for the father to come in and take custody. He had already filed full custody on me, so that was concerning. Also, they're forcing me to stay at my mom's house, and I was in jeopardy of losing my house because I'm in a housing, I have housing, and I'm in a program where I have to be living in my house, or else they will take your voucher, because there's a lot of people waiting, and if you have somewhere else to live, then they're going to take your voucher. So I had addressed these concerns to DCF multiple times, that I felt that I could not lose my housing, that was not something that I was going to let happen. I knew that if I lost my housing, then they were going to say that homelessness was another concern and probably take my kids for that. So I decided to make a decision that I was going to revoke all my releases. My lawyer sent out a letter to them saying that they have not helped my situation at all. They've only worsened it. I went from being fine with my kids at my house. My kids are perfectly fine. They even say that. They say they have no parenting concerns at all. My kids always are fine. I never miss an appointment. I'm engaged and everything. The social worker even said she knew I wasn't using, because we were talking some points at like every day on video call at sometimes, because she had to keep checking in on me for a safety plan. And she said at no point did I ever look under the influence or any of that. So there was no parenting concerns, no concerns of neglect or abuse to my kids ever. It was just about a drug screens. And just a side note is that the Supreme Court has ruled in a case previously that drug abuse is not enough to take a kid alone. You need to be showing that there's neglect happening because of drug abuse. The case was involving a woman who did cocaine every day, but her kids went to school. They were well taken care of. She didn't do it around her kids. And the Supreme Court ruled in her favor, saying there was no neglect or abuse, even though she was abusing drugs every day. So so I sent this letter out to my lawyer. I went and got a drug screen. I paid for it. It came back clean. Attached it to this letter, this long letter stating the reasons why I was doing what I was doing, why I was revoking my releases, why I wanted no further contact with the department. I wanted everything to go through my lawyer. They were not to reach out to me. If they needed something from me, they needed to call my lawyer. And that I was moving home with my kids. So that was about maybe a month ago. Now, I've been home with my kids for a month. They know that. They reached out and said that they wanted to have a meeting between me and my lawyer. And my lawyer said that I wasn't going to be at the meeting and she would meet with them herself. And in the meeting, they said that if I didn't comply with their orders to sign releases to the methadone clinic, to get all of my records, that they were going to force me into court and force a judge to make me hand them over. My lawyer said that she hasn't ever seen that anybody be forced to hand over like HIPAA protected medical documents when there's no abuse or neglect to children. And basically they're just fishing for something. They're like, give me everything you have and let's try to find something on her. So obviously I didn't comply with that. Their time base or whatever for me to comply went and nothing happened. Now I got an email Monday morning saying, hey, from the social worker saying, hey, we want to schedule a video call for next week. I want to see the kids. And I reached out to my lawyer and I talked to her and said that I was open to do a video call. I had no problem getting on a video call showing me and my kids that everything was okay, my house, food, and all of that.
Yeah.
I didn't have a problem with that at all. My main problems were that I didn't want to lose my housing. I didn't want to jeopardize custody of my daughter. And I didn't want to take my screens at a place where they kept failing and I wasn't using. Those are my only 3 issues that they wouldn't budge on any of them, So, they sent me that email Monday. I reached out to my lawyer. She called me back Tuesday morning and I told her that I was willing to do that. So she reached out to their attorney. She called in 10 times, left 4 voicemails. Because I didn't answer that email, they filed for emergency custody Tuesday morning and came to my house to take my kids. Now, my daughter was on vacation in New York with my mom, and I was here with my son. And I wasn't home at the time, and my mom called me and said that they called her and they had custody of the kids and they were coming to get them. And they were sending a cop up to New York to get my daughter and bring her back. So my lawyer was on vacation too, and they knew that. They did it because my lawyer was on vacation. So they called me, said I had to come back to my house and meet them. So I did. I came here. They brought like 8 cops with them, obviously. I recorded the whole thing. Still told them I was recording when they pulled up. They tried to tell me, the social worker said, okay. Then when her supervisor got on the phone, she tried to tell me it was illegal and I couldn't record and the police should stop me, but they didn't because it's legal. So anyways, they showed up and they got emergency custody from the courts, right? And then they showed up and asked to leave my son with me. So I'm such a danger that they got emergency custody and then came to my house and said they wanted me to sign a safety plan to leave him with me. I think that is completely ridiculous. These emergency custody orders are for like severe cases, severe abuse, where you need to get the children out immediately. There's danger. There should be no case where you're getting an emergency custody or order from somebody and then leaving the children with them. That makes zero sense. So I kind of battled with them back and forth for like 10 minutes. And I was like, no, I'm not doing a safety plan. And, I'm not doing it. It's another ploy to get me to commit to all of your, demands and be entangled with you guys for another year,
Yeah.
And they threatened me. And then I said I would sign it under duress. And I said that on video. And when I said that, they said I couldn't sign it anymore. And they were going to remove because I was going to sign it under duress. So
to this. All right. So
yeah, sorry, I couldn't hear you. Did you say something?
No, I'm listening.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So they said that they were taking him. So at that point they said, get him ready. And I said, he's ready. I had him sitting right there. I said, he's ready. They said, no, we need your car seat, formula, clothes, all of that. And I'm like, no, you're coming to take my child. I'm not the one that wants him to go. You're not taking my car seat, my stuff. You are getting funding for kidnapping my child. You're going to go to the store and you're going to buy it. And they tried to make the cops tell me to give him the car seat. They said they were going to take him without a car seat on video. They said they were going to take him without a car seat. And I was like, I dare you to take my son in your car on video without a car seat. Like, I dare you to do it. They had to go to Walmart and buy a car seat and all. I mean, they didn't show up with a car seat to take an infant. I mean, I really think that they were convinced that I was just going to sign it because they thought that I was going to do whatever they wanted. And, a lot of people probably would have just signed it. And I probably will get criticized for not signing it. But I want to really emphasize here is that it was just another ploy to sign one of their safety plans and be stuck doing what they want. I would rather go to court and shut this down, like, immediately. Mm-hmm. If I lose my son for a week, he's a baby and he's not going to remember it. My daughter is with her father. I would be a lot more concerned if she was in foster care. Okay, so this is very painful for me, like, very. I'm like distraught, without him, obviously, but I feel as though I don't want to, continue another plan with them. So they did remove him, and we had our 72-hour hearing. I hired another attorney. I have multiple attorneys on this case. And my first attorney specialized in probate court because that's what we were kind of dealing with. Now I got another lawyer that specializes in juvenile court. And so they went to the 72-hour hearing, and this is ongoing legal proceedings. So like I said, I'm just going to kind of not really speak directly, but I wasn't allowed at the 72-hour hearing. Let's just say that, first
Why?
of all, which is completely illegal. I don't know. I was asking, my lawyer was on vacation, my first lawyer, right? And she totally was like, oh, I can't represent you. You're going to have to go in there with a public defender. And I was like, they're not going to catch me dead with a public defender. I'm sorry. They're not. So I hired another lawyer. But before that, I was asking for the Zoom link, and she wrote back and she said, DCF has informed me that this hearing is not for parents. It's only for attorneys. And it is not up to the parent to decide if they're allowed to be at the hearing, and they wouldn't give me the Zoom link. I felt like they were setting me up to make it seem like I didn't show up, So I hired a lawyer and DCF sent me an email like, oh yeah, so sorry that your lawyer's not going to be representing you. We'll let you know when a public defender is appointed to you. And so I just thought it was hilarious when I had like a high-powered juvenile lawyer walk in there. They were probably just like, what the fuck? How is she hiring another lawyer? So, so all of a sudden now they want a custody agreement to put the kids back in my care. It's like, I'm telling you, these people, they're not nice people. They're not just like, oh, let's give her a custody agreement. Let's help her out. Let's get her kids back to her. No, they don't want to go to court because I saw the affidavit and it's lies that I have documented proof to dispute. I'm not going to go into it because, like I said, we have it ongoing. But this not another agreement that they want me to sign is another ploy to keep it out of court. It's like, sign this, and they think now that I'll definitely sign it because I don't have my kids and they know it's killing me, you know? So they think I'll do anything, 100% compliance, but I'm not. I feel like this is a time that I'm not going to bow down to them. I'm going to court. I'm fighting it. And the whole thing is, I have a visit with my son tomorrow, and he's 5 months old, right? And it's an hour visit, and they said I can only hold him for 15 minutes.
Why?
Because of COVID, which makes zero sense. I mean, what 15 minutes? What? I mean, if you guys are that concerned about COVID, you shouldn't be having in-person visits at all. 15 minutes, an hour, it doesn't matter. We're in person.
Yeah, it does not matter.
And I could understand with an older child because you can do things with them, play games, whatever. You don't have to have them sitting on your lap the whole time. But he's 5 months old. What am you expect him to sit in a car seat for 45 minutes? You know, like, that's crazy to me. So we're pushing for kinship for my mom. She's on vacation, but she's willing to come right home. And they're like, oh, we don't know what's taking so long. I mean, this kinship should be like automatically approved. She was in their safety plans. They wanted her to be a guardian. Yeah. So, you know, I kept asking them on the video, like, what is the imminent danger of my children? What is the danger to my children that you're removing them? And she couldn't answer. The only thing she said is, you stopped communicating with us, which is a lie. I answered everything through a lawyer, which is my legal right to do. So,
Yes.
and I even got that on camera that she said we weren't responding. And I said, when you send me an email, I send it to my lawyer and she gives you a response, yes? And she's like, no, she's not working with us. I'm like, did she have a meeting with you? And she's like, yes, but she didn't do what we wanted. And I'm like, that's not responding. That's not doing exactly what you want her to do. And she doesn't have to. She's representing me. But that is not responding. That's totally different. You know, she's still communicating with them. My kids are in daycare. They're in the community. They've never missed a doctor's appointment. They're not, and not in the whole affidavit that they told the judge to get the emergency custody order. There's not one thing about my kids. There's no accusation of abuse or neglect or parenting concerns or nothing about my kids. It's all about just me and drug screens from 4 months ago, which, if they were such a concern 4 months ago, they should have removed then. You can't come back 4 months later and remove for something that happened 4 months ago, you know? So I mean, I know I want to go to law school, and I'm in no means saying I know everything, but I know a little bit, and
Right.
I've been through cases before, and they just hate when you stand up to them. They want 100% compliance, nothing less. Like, you literally have to bow down and kiss these people's feet to get your kids back, you know, unless you want to fight them. And if you want to fight them, you have to have money. And that's just, you know, the sad part of it.
It is. That is correct.
You know, I'm lucky because I have a family that's backing me. And I'm hoping that maybe this case can shine some light and get some attention, because I do have family that is, one of my uncle is a CEO of a big company in California that makes like $800 million a year. I mean, they're rich. And
What is the company?
Xilinx.
What is it?
Xilinx. It's a computer chip company in California.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's the CEO, and he has, you know, he's told me obviously that he completely backs me in whatever I need, and he obviously has a team of corporate lawyers, like, you know, obviously for his company, that are getting involved, and he is a big person in that area, like knows senators, and he just knows a lot of people. And I just, if I sign their agreement and avoid court, it's just, you know, not the right thing to do right now. I would love to have my kids back with me right now, of course, but I really want to fight this. If I sign an agreement it's just prolonging another removal, because in 2 months, if they don't like what I do again, they're gonna come remove. I want to just shut this down. You standing up for your rights and getting a lawyer, they act like is criminal, even though they have 1,000 lawyers for them.
Mm-hmm.
I am just really shocked that this isn't more of a known issue. And I think about it, and I think that it's because it's so hard to believe, and people don't want to believe
No,
that.
they don't.
They don't want to believe it, that this is actually happening. So it's like almost a denial thing. It's like, no, there has to be more to that story. There has to be.
You have done something.
Yes, and I can honestly say I have thought that before I ever had been involved with them, because until you have firsthand experience, it's really hard to believe that somebody would do this with children. It's very, it's gross. Like, it's just, it makes me sick to think about it. So, my story is probably just beginning on the second case, because they were just removed, and I probably have a huge legal fight ahead of me.
Mm-hmm.
We got our original hearing pushed off, obviously. 72 hours is not enough time to prepare for a fight against them. Like, I would recommend trying to push that hearing out if you can. Like, they don't, that's not enough time, like, to get, if you have like, my case is like 6 months. It's 6 months of stuff that has happened, and documents and timelines and stuff that you need to go over, so like, my court date has been pushed back, and we're waiting on kinship for my mom. Actually, I'm supposed to find out today if it's like going to be going through, or if it's still held up. If it's held up, then we're going to file for like a third party custody hearing to get him over there to my mom. So once he's there, I think it'll be a lot easier for me,
So, do you mind if I ask some questions now?
No, go ahead.
And you might feel like you're repeating yourself a little bit.
That's okay.
Okay, so going back to the very first case.
Yeah.
May I ask what you were using? I know you weren't using.
Like, what my drug of choice is?
Yes.
Yeah, heroin.
Okay. And how long have you been clean?
I've been clean. I was clean for 4 years, and then I had one slip in July. So now what are we in? I'm over a year clean now, but I'm on the methadone clinic, so I don't keep a date like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Once, that's another thing that I didn't mention, is that they're forcing me to stay on the methadone clinic. I can't get off. And I have been on the clinic for like 10 years, and I'm ready to get off.
They're forcing you to what?
Stay on the methadone clinic. Like, I can't get off the treatment.
Why?
I don't know. They won't. It's part of their like safety plans and everything that they want me to sign. I can't get off the clinic. It's like, I don't know. I have an opportunity to go to a rehab. And it's because I don't know if you have a lot of experience with like the methadone clinic and stuff, but it's very hard to get off and wean down. And I've done it before. I went all the way down to 4 milligrams, and I really panicked, and I went back up, and it was hard. And it took me 2 years. It's a process. So I have an opportunity to go to a rehab where they do a rapid detox, and it has like a 95% success rate. They put you to sleep, and they rapidly detox it out of your body, and you don't feel any withdrawals. So it's very expensive. It's like $30,000, but I have the opportunity to do it, and they're saying I can't. And I'm only going to be gone for 10 days, and they said that they'll charge me with that's abandonment of my children if I do that. I have family in California too that I could, if I took them with me, they could stay there with them. I think that they're denying me the process to further my recovery by getting off methadone, which is what I need to do, in my life personally. I'm not going to go into reasons of why, and everybody's different, but I have been clean a long time. I mean, I've had one slip in 5 years, and methadone for me isn't a lifetime treatment for me, and I'm not saying that I'm going to be cured. I mean, you still have to participate in a recovery, like a strict recovery, and they set
Program.
that up for you. So that's another thing that they're not letting me do. So yeah, sorry, I completely forgot about that.
No, yeah. I'm really sorry.
Yeah, I know. And it's just like,
It blows my mind because we're supposed to have freedom.
yeah, I know.
And you're trying to make a decision of something that could better yourself, and you're
Right.
told no.
By social workers who are not substance abuse counselors and have no training in methadone or substance abuse treatment. They're not doctors. They have no right to decide if I can get off the clinic or not. Like, just period, And all of this is going to go in front of a judge. And, even then sometimes, though, like, I want people to understand that even if you go in front of a judge with all this evidence, sometimes they still side with CPS. Like, some judges are very, like, sided with them. They do, even if you provide a lot of evidence. But I'm hoping that won't happen. I know I have good attorneys working for me, so that makes me feel better. I went through my first case with a public defender, so I know the difference of going through a public defender and a paid lawyer. And if that is my biggest advice, if you're going through a CPS case, is to get a lawyer. I know some people can't, and I think I hate that. I really hate it. But if you are able to in any way, like, even if you have to, I mean, even if I take a loan out or something, I think that is one of the biggest things that's going to help you. It's even if your kids are removed for reasons that they probably should be, getting a paid lawyer will speed up the process of getting them back.
Mm-hmm.
They push it along very much quicker than a public defender would. So if, that's like one piece of advice.
Yep. So going back to when you first had your daughter, right? Because she's the one.
Yeah.
And you said that she came out and was not clean.
Yeah, she tested positive for opiates.
And you said that they had given you Tylenol.
Yeah. Which is an opiate.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, if you have Tylenol codeine and you take a drug test, it's an opiate. It's going to come up as an opiate.
Now, why did you need that?
I didn't even know I had that. If I had known that, I would have said that when they came and asked why she was dirty. I didn't know that until I went, like, 3 weeks after they removed her. I went to the hospital and I requested my whole file of when I stayed there, and it listed every medication that was given to me. And I don't even remember taking any pills. I had a normal delivery with her. I didn't have a C-section, so I didn't have painkillers or anything. I just had a epidural. So I don't even know. I don't know if it was in, like, my IV, or I don't know, but it was on my medication sheet, like, that they gave me.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming, I mean, I have no other explanation of why she would be dirty. I had done drug screens my whole pregnancy. I was on the clinic, obviously. So, yeah. And they tested me when I got there too. You know what I mean? So my only thing I could think of is that I had a long labor, so I don't know how long it takes to get to the baby. I would assume pretty quickly. I was in labor for like 24 hours, so.
And they gave it to you there at the hospital?
The Tylenol codeine?
Yeah.
Yeah. When I was in labor, like, before I had her.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And I didn't, like, even fight it. I just did what they wanted. I literally was like the most perfect person ever. I just kissed their asses, and it still took me 8 months to get her back. And for like the first, like, 5 months, I only had 1 hour a week visits. They never moved it, like, literally for like the first 5 months I only had one eye. And then it's just so weird. It's like you never see them, and then all of a sudden they're like boom, 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 drop them off. You know?
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, like it's just like 1 hour a week, and then you go to like 4 hours for a week, and then an overnight, and then they drop them off with you. You know?
Were your visits in the beginning supervised?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for 5 months. Actually, longer than that. Even when I went on to 4-hour visits, they were supervised. I had to have somebody come supervise it at my house. And then we moved, like, then the next week we had 8-hour visits, and she stayed for 4 hours, and then the other 4 I had unsupervised. And then I had one overnight with her, and then they dropped her off to me. And then I never saw them again until I had another baby.
Now, sorry, I had a question and then I forgot. Give me a second.
Okay.
I forgot what my question was.
Well, that's okay. That happens to me all the time, like literally.
My brain sucks.
Yeah, but they literally filed for emergency custody because I didn't answer an email. Like, that's literally.
I remember what I was gonna ask.
Okay.
Were you when you first had her? Did you decide if you were gonna breastfeed or not?
I was breastfeeding.
And so obviously you couldn't do that anymore. Did you pump?
No, they didn't let me pump and bring to her. And
Different formula.
it's important to breastfeed when you're on methadone because it helps them through their withdrawals, and it's not enough to keep them addicted, but it really helps them. Like, and the foster mom told me, like, she struggled after she left the hospital and I wasn't breastfeeding her anymore. She really struggled, and they didn't allow me to. It sucked so bad to just stop. Like, it was so painful. I had, like, I don't want to be like graphic or anything, but if you've ever just had to just stop breastfeeding and stop pumping, it's like, it's very painful. Like, you can't keep pumping because you're going to keep making milk.
Right.
If you keep, you just have to stop. But you know what I'm trying to say. You know?
100%.
So yeah, I had to go through that. And this case and my daughter's case are a lot different to me because both of them are traumatizing. I'm just gonna say that. But my daughter's case was different because I never had a baby. She was removed from the hospital. So it was like I was pregnant and then I just didn't have a. So it was I was very obviously upset. I'm not trying to minimize that, but I'm just saying this case has been a lot harder. I've extremely
I get it.
bonded with my baby. I haven't left side for 5 months. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like I just can't even like live without him, And my daughter too, but she's a little older and she goes to her dad, so she's not always here, and so it doesn't feel as, but I'm
still,
my heart's just like shattered, Sorry.
No, don't apologize. These videos are hard because I want to be able to hug you. I want to be able to just be there for you. And my kids were older when they were taken. But I can't imagine it being a baby. Like,
I think that when they're older, I can't imagine them being older, honestly, because you have to answer to what's happening. Like, why can't I come home? I couldn't. That would just break me. At least I know that he's not going to remember this. And my daughter doesn't remember her time in foster care. Obviously, she has no idea. So it's just, it's hard for me, obviously. I worry obviously about him. I don't know where he is. I don't know anything. And I hope you know, I'm gonna see him tomorrow, so I'm gonna document his, you know, before he left, I took pictures about his whole body and everything. I mean, I'm not letting them blame shit on me, you know. I recorded everything and documented it, and I'm gonna keep documenting it, the visits and stuff. But I really am pushing to get him moved to my mom. I don't see any reason he shouldn't be able to go there. They have an obligation to place with family, and I hate that they drag their feet on it. It's just like, you know, I don't know how I could ever work with them after this. I mean, we had like a battle. Like, I don't know if I could send you the video because it's too long. I was trying to like email it and stuff, but I posted it in a support group, and like we like battled on that video. Like, I really went up against them. I didn't like, wasn't like freaking out or anything, you know. I didn't even get up from sitting down. I raised my voice a couple times, obviously, but I just straight up told them like what it was, like that this is completely wrong, you know. And they couldn't answer any of my questions on video, and I posted it, and like it has a lot of comments, and people are like, you need to make this go viral. Like, they were like, finally we have evidence of corruption on camera, and you need to let this go viral. But I'm afraid to post it on my own page right now because we're ongoing court proceedings, and I don't want anything to happen, you know. Like, I don't want to.
What the video is about?
The video is when they removed.
And this was, so let's go over that day. Tell me, where did they show up at to remove them? Your house?
Yeah, but I wasn't home. So they first called my mom and told her that they had custody of the kids, and they were planning on putting the kids with her and me living with her again, and me parenting the kids under her. And she was on vacation, so they didn't know that. So then they were like, fuck, what are we going to do? Sorry, I don't know if I can swear, but you know what I mean? They were like, crap, what are we going to do? She's in New York. The mom can't take. So then they were like, oh, leave them with the mother that we just sought emergency custody from, which I can't even wrap my head around that. I mean, how do you go get emergency custody and then leave them with the person you got? I don't even understand. So but they, you know, it was their safety plan, and I already knew what the safety plan was. So I was out shopping. I'm a couponer, so I was couponing, and my mom called me and said they have custody of the kids and they want me to come home with Riley because now that they have custody of her, she can't be in another state. And I said, no, you're not leaving. Your vacation for them. They want her, they can go get her. And I knew they weren't going to do that. Though, you think they're going to pay a cop to go? They're so cheap, they're not going to do that. So they called me first, Susanna, and Susanna, she's my social worker, and we had a good relationship, and we talked a lot, and she always was like, I stand up for what's right, and I go against my supervisors all the time. I would never remove a kid if it wasn't danger. Like, I really believed her, because there was times that she like went to bat for me, but this time she just like I lost like all respect for her, because she just completely followed orders. And I understand it's her job, but I couldn't do that for any amount of money. So she called me, and I just told her how disgusting she was and how like grossed out I was with her. And then I hung up. And then they called my mom and said that like I had to go back to my house, or I was going to be in big trouble. And I wasn't going to run or anything like that. I was not going to do that. I'm not dumb, you know. I knew I had to hand him over, and I was prepared to do that, you know. So the supervisor called me, and I said, what's the danger? She's like, you're actively using substances, and you have a 5-month-old. And I said, no, I'm not. I just gave you a drug screen that's clean. And she said, that's not from Spectrum, where we want it to be from. I said, who cares? It's from a accredited lab. I went in, paid $200, and they sent it to a lab, and they have strict collection procedures to make sure people aren't faking, you know. Like, they search you, they have water so you can't dilute it, they stand right outside the door so they can hear you if you're opening anything, and then they test the temperature of it. It has to be exactly the right temperature that it would be coming out of you, you know. So like, I don't care. You heat it up in a microwave, how are you going to make sure it's the same temperature, you know, like it were. So I'm just saying, like, they had strict like protocols in place, but they won't accept those screens. Like, they won't accept them. But what I said to her was like, you would accept it if it was dirty, for sure. Trust me, you would. No matter where it came from, you would take a dirty one.
Yeah.
And didn't answer it. They don't answer, you know, because they just don't want to be. And so she was like, you need to report to your house right now. And I'm like, okay, 40 minutes. Because I was 40 minutes away. She's like, you need to get there faster. I'm like, I'm 40 minutes away.
Yeah.
So it's going to be 40 minutes. If you want to meet me if they want to meet me somewhere halfway, she's like, no, you go there. I'm like, okay. So then I call Susanna and I'm like, oh, on my way. She's like, where? Like, to your mom's? I'm like, are you guys even communicating? Like, no, she just told me to report there because you were sitting there. So I was definitely like battling with them. I was not like, you know, I was like, and I don't care. I'm done with them. Like, literally done with them. I'm going to say exactly what I want to them. So I came to my house and nobody was here. And I rushed all the way here and nobody was even here. I'm like, what the hell? Where's all like the police and everybody, you know? So then they came and I recorded and they came up and they said, we want to do a safety plan. And I said, nope, not doing it. And they said, it's not even for him to leave your house. I said, nope, I'm not doing it. So are you taking him? And I know it sounds very like, how could she do that? But I would just like, this is like, it's a necessary thing to do right now. You know, I had to do it in order to end this when we go to court.
You had to do what?
I had to not sign their safety plan to leave it with me. And I had to hand it over to them. Like, I know people are going to be like, why didn't you just sign the safety plan? But it's just another fucking agreement for them for another year. You know, I want to end this when we go to court and get them out of my life, you know?
Yeah.
So, and if I agreed to the safety plan, maybe I would sign it, but I don't even agree to it. You know, I don't even agree to what's in it. I told them what I was open to. I said, I have one thing that I want. I want to do my screens at a different lab that has better reviews and doesn't have a million reviews of people saying their screens are wrong. I said, I do not deserve to take a drug screen and then have anxiety for a week if it's going to pass when I'm not even using.
Right.
Like, do you understand that? Like, I kept saying that. Can you see where I'm coming from? Like, I'm taking drug screens and failing when I'm not using. Why would I continue taking drug screens there and screwing myself over? What normal human being would do that? Like, oh yeah, let's just keep taking drug screens here where they're failing when I'm not using. That sounds like a great fun plan to me. Like, no, I'm not doing that, you know? So I'm doing my screen somewhere else. And the weird part is though, they refuse it. Like, they will not budge. It has to be from there, which makes me think something's going on. Why do you care where they come from?
Right.
I'm paying for them, you know? So we just, on the video, we just battled about like this. And then they really tried to get me to sign the safety plan. And then they had the supervisor come on the phone and say, Jackie, we want you to sign the safety plan. I was like, nope, not doing it. And so I was like, I'm going to court. And then they were like, well, you can sign the safety plan and we can still go to court. I'm like, okay, fine. I'll sign it for 2 days, but I'm signing it under duress. And then they're like, well, now you're making it difficult. I'm like, why? It is. You are threatening me to take my child unless I sign the safety plan, which is literally the definition of signing something under duress, you know? So at that point, they were like, no, go forward with the removal. Even though I agreed to sign the safety plan, they pulled it at that moment. And the cops there were ridiculous. I went down and made a complaint because the cop, like I said he was going to take him without a car seat, and if anything happened to him, it was going to be my fault. He said that on camera. And after I shut the camera off, because I had to call my dad, because part of the safety plan was I had to have somebody come over and check on me 2 times a day. So it was going to be my dad, and I had to call and verify that. So like we went through the safety plan, and I got people to do what they wanted to check on me. I had to call everybody, and then they were like, no, never mind. It was like, were you guys even going to let me sign in the first place? I don't even know anymore, you know? So I had to stop recording, but this cop was like, once he found out this was a case over like addiction, he had like some very personal views on it. Like he told me that addiction is a choice, and if an addict dies, they should die because they made that choice, and he doesn't care. And he
Who
said,
said this?
the cop. And I looked at him, and I was like, and he's like, before you say anything, I've had family members die from it, and I don't care because they made that choice. And I just stared at him, and he's like, and he goes like this to me. He's like, I was just like literally staring at him, dumbfounded. And he's like, what? Did it finally click in your head what I'm saying to you? And I was like, no, I'm just wondering how you got like through life being so stupid and how you're not dead yet. Like, I've never talked to a more stupid person. And he was so flipping out on me. Like, he was so pissed. So I went down and made a complaint about it. And the sergeant was like, that's not right. And I told him, like, listen, he said something about the car seat, which I think is wrong, but I wouldn't come down and make a complaint about that alone. I understand what he was trying to do with the car seat thing. He was trying to diffuse the situation and get me to give them the car seat, but he did it in a wrong way, obviously. But the addiction comments, I was like really concerned with, because in the middle of like an opioid epidemic, a police officer has those feelings. Like, if he shows up to a call where somebody needs help, I mean, God forbid you get that freaking guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's crazy. And the sergeant like agreed with me too. And I don't know, who knows what, they probably didn't even do anything about it, but he did say that he was going to talk to him, right? And I was like, I'm not trying to get the guy fired. I just think it warrants a conversation. And like, it was just definitely uncalled for. They're there to stand by in case, you know, stuff pops off. You know what I mean? They're not supposed to be getting involved in these cases, like, and putting their personal opinions in it. I didn't even get up from where I was sitting. There was no threats to them. The social workers never felt threatened, never said they did. They were coming right up close to me, talking to me, you know, like they never, so there was no reason for them to even get involved. You know what I mean? So I did make a complaint on him. I don't know what happened, but yeah, he totally said that. Like, quote, like, I wish I hadn't shut the camera off, because if I had gotten him saying that on camera, oh my God. But he totally said that, like, quote for quote, an addict deserves to die.
Say it again. Say what he said.
He said an addict deserves to die if they use, because they made that choice. And addiction is a choice, not a disease. Yeah, I was just like mind blown. I was just like, and the weird thing is, like, 10 minutes before that, he was on the phone with my dad saying that I was doing the right thing, that I've lived here for a long time. The cops have never been here. They've never had any complaints about me. My son looked fine, and he thought that I was doing the right thing for standing up for my rights. And then as soon as he found out it was about an addiction case, obviously he has some very personal views on it. And as soon as he found that out, it was like he just like snapped in his head. Like, it was like he had to just like unload his like anger about addiction. I don't know. I have no idea what was going on there, but like, it was definitely uncalled for. Like, in the situation, I was just like, what? Like, what are you even talking about? Who even asked you? So, but yeah, I was definitely like combative in the video. But I wasn't like yelling or anything, and everything I was saying was true. And I think I have the right to be upset when my child is getting ripped from my arms. I don't think I'm supposed to be like happy about that. So
yeah,
like, people like, my dad's like, oh, you look bad in that video because you're like yelling. I'm like, but everyone when I posted the video, like, literally everybody was like, I can't believe like this video is like insane. It's crazy. And I knew I had to record because I knew it was going to be some BS, and I knew they lied to the judge. I knew they had to have lied to the judge to get an order. And then as soon as I saw the affidavit, I was like, wow. In the affidavit, they said that they never told me I had to leave my house. So the whole stated reason of me not following the safety plan because I was going to lose my housing was not real. And in fact, I have a document that they wrote to my housing authority saying that they were making me stay at my mom's. Like, I have that letter that totally disproves that part of the affidavit. I have like almost every piece. They said my kids weren't in daycare, and they were. Like, I have letters from the daycare, and I have text messages of her, sending me pictures of the kids when they're at daycare, because I always will like check in on them, like how the kids doing, and she'll send me pictures of them when they're at daycare and stuff. Like, I have a lot of evidence to disprove what they're saying. It's just about, like, it's just about, for me, just being strong enough to like to hold on until court and not cave to them,
Right.
And I'm really trying, because I want my kids back more than anything, and to know that I could get them to just signing an agreement, it's really hard for me to not do that. And I go back and forth, but I always end up at the same conclusion that, like, this is just not right, and this needs to go before the judge. I don't think a judge is going to appreciate having her time taken to do an emergency order for them to then ask to leave the child there. I just don't think a judge is going to appreciate that, like, at all,
Right.
But who knows? We will find out, though.
Man.
Yeah, it's just crazy. Like I said, it's ongoing, so I don't have like a happy ending yet, but
Right.
hopefully soon.
How long have they been gone?
They removed Tuesday. Yeah, they've been gone like almost a week. No, it doesn't. Yeah. Has it been that long? No. Yeah, I guess it has. They removed Tuesday. So,
Tomorrow is a week.
yeah. And tomorrow I get to see my son for the first time. And they're even making me see my daughter for 1 hour a week. And she's with her father, which is crazy. Like, I should be able to go over there whenever I want. Me and her father have a fine relationship. He doesn't care. Her birthday's in 2 days. Like, I've never missed a birthday, So,
And they're making you miss the birthday.
well, I'm hoping I'll be able to go, like, me and him are able to coordinate, like, the visit, the 1 hour a week visit I can have, like, whenever. So, I'm hoping I can go on her birthday. And, I've never missed one of her birthdays ever, obviously. And, like, it's just like, usually if the kids are with like a family member, they're not so strict on that visitation, especially when they have no parenting concerns, like,
Right.
but, like, I told my lawyer that, and like, he's just like, that's going to change like real quick. Like, so I don't know. It's just, it's just like these, like, this fighting these people is just like a process, and you just have to hold on, because there is hope that it's going to end, and a lot of people do get their kids back. Like, it's not all bad stories. I know I see, like, in these support groups, you see a lot of like TPR and adoption stories and stuff, and but there are a lot of people who do get their kids back, and it is traumatizing. Like, I think almost probably everybody will have PTSD from it. And I'm saying that, like, I'm not saying that we should get rid of DCF altogether. I definitely agree that they're needed, but they need a huge overhaul. And I believe that there is going to be a case sometime one day that is going to bring this to light. Like, just like other issues, sometimes there's just one thing that just causes like a national uproar. You know what I mean? And like, I believe that will happen with CPS at one point. It's gonna take one case that's just gonna like spark it. You know what I mean? And maybe then we'll get some change. But it until then, all we can do is just keep fighting for our kids, right?
Yeah.
I know that I'm gonna get my kids back. I don't see any way that I wouldn't, but I do feel for people that don't have the ability to fight them, you know, like they don't have the money or the backing or anything. They have like lawyers, the public defenders that don't even answer the phone, you know. You only talk to them like an hour before court and that's it. I mean, this is like your whole life, and you get to meet your lawyer like an hour before you go to court for the biggest court hearing of your life. You
Yep.
know, this is the one hearing, the first one. That's every 2 hour hearing is the hearing that the judge can overrule them. You know, like it's very important hearing. All the other ones are like stupid. You know, like the in my experience with my, but I did have a public defender on this first case, but the first court date was the day that the judge would overrule them. All the other ones, the judge like pretty much couldn't do anything except just ask what the status was. Like pretty much, like she couldn't order anything. She couldn't. She was just like, oh, I can't order more visitation. I can't make them be more available. I can't, you know. And even when she said, I want the kid home, they still didn't even listen. You know, we still went to court the next time, and she's like, why don't we have a date? Oh, well, we just haven't come up with a date. Okay, we'll come up with a date and come back in another month. You know, it's like, it just doesn't seem like the judge can do much.
How is the dad? What did the dad say about all of this? The daughter's dad.
Well, it's really weird, like between me and him, because you know, I've always had, we've never been to court for her, but I've always had custody and like, you know, with her. I've always had her with me, and he was really behind on child support, like 7,000. I mean, they sent him up to New York to get her, and he doesn't even have a license or a car. So, and they know that. So I don't even know, like he has a car, but it's not insured or anything. So, and I told them that. I was like, he doesn't even have a license. You're sending him to get it. And then they're like, that is what we're asking. On camera, they even said that. Yes, that's what we're asking. You're asking for somebody without a license to drive my daughter 5 hours? That's great. That's really great. So, anyways, so he lost his license, though, because he didn't pay child support. And now he filed for okay. I tried to avoid this whole case by signing my kids over to my mom before this, okay? And we went to court, all agreed to sign my daughter over to my mom. Nothing was going to change. He could still see her. It was just a legal document to protect her. We showed up to court, and he said, no, I'm not doing it, and filed full custody on me that day. Like, I literally, like, did, like, a whole turn on me. Like, I don't even know how that happened. We had, like, a plan going in there. Gonna sign custody over to my mom to protect her. So when DCF comes, my mom has legal custody of them, you know, and they won't be able to remove. He filed full custody on me, and I couldn't do it. So I have court Thursday for that. We have court for that on Thursday. I don't even know how that's gonna happen now because DCF has legal custody. And I guess he has, what does he have? I don't even know. Is he kinship or, I don't even know because he's the dad. I have no idea what. But they also asked him to take my son. I don't know who my son's father is, and it's not him. And they asked him to take my son, which is like, what? Like, how do you, anybody that's not a DCF approved foster family has to be put forward by me for kinship. You can't just ask somebody without, you know what I'm saying? Like, the kinship has to be put forward by me. Like, I have to be like, yes, I want kinship. If I don't have put forward anybody for kinship, then they go to foster care. I've never heard of this.
Did they do a paternity test on him?
No,
If he was the dad?
no, but he's not. He's
No, I
not the dad.
know, but I'm just wondering if they did.
No, he's. They asked him to take the baby, and he's like, I've never even met the baby. Like, what? You know? So, you know, I feel like he's like, so that court date that they told me that I couldn't go to, they allowed him there. The one that was for attorneys only, he had the Zoom link, and they wouldn't give it to me. And I'm like, is he like a witness or something? Like, yes, I'm just really paranoid right now. I'm like, is he like, did they go to him and say like, listen, we'll help you get full custody of her, but we need something on her. What do you know about her? Tell us something, you know, like I
Yeah,
can see that happening. And he says no, like he
me
hasn't told
too.
them anything. But I'm super, super worried about that. Like I'm very alert to that, and I'll know if he's a witness soon enough. It's not like he can be like a secret witness. I will find out. And I mean, I don't know what he could say about me, but anybody can say anything about me. But he has a huge motive to lie, you know,
Right.
like a huge
You
motive.
said he's behind.
But they didn't even go to the house and look. I mean, she doesn't have a bedroom there. She doesn't have a bed. He lives like with his aunt and uncle. Like he doesn't even have his own place. Um,
How
it's
did
not.
he, how did he get her back without the car and license and all that? Did he drive?
I don't know. He has a car, but it's just not insured. And he was driving her around with a car without a license in this truck all the time, like before DCF got involved. Like I would catch, like she would tell me. I mean, she talks, you know, like she would say, I rode in Daddy's truck with him, you know, like she'd tell me. And I brought it up like a million times to him, you know, like you can't be driving her without a license. You get pulled over. I'm gonna have to get a phone call to come pick her up at the police department, and they'll probably call DCF on us, you know, like you can't do that. So I don't know how we went up there. I don't know if we drove her up there, went up there and got her. I don't know. I know we got her, but I don't know who brought him.
I was just
She's
wondering.
there. You know, she was really upset that she had to leave like her vacation too. She was having a lot of fun. Like she was like she was supposed to stay for vacation, you know. They're at Lake George in New York. They like rent an island, and she's like my daughter's like a total fish, like loves the water, everything. Like she's just having a blast. And they just ripped her out of there from my mom, who like they want to leave her with. I don't know. You know what I mean? And her father's a good like guy, but he's not a full-time father. Let's just say that. You know, he just doesn't have the capability right now to be able to do it. You know, he doesn't have a vehicle to drive like legally. He doesn't have a license to get her back and forth to daycare, now school. She's supposed to be starting kindergarten. She's enrolled here in my town to go to school, and now she's 40 minutes away in a different town, with no. I mean, I asked that both my kids remained in the daycare that we're in. I don't know if they did. I don't even know if my son's still in that daycare. I hope he is. It makes me feel a little better that people I know have eyes on him, you know. But I don't think that she'll tell me if he's in there. I don't know, but he's just like the father's just not a full-time father. He just can't. Like I said, she doesn't even have a bedroom or a bed there. It's not
Where does she sleep?
in the bed with him, I think. You know, and that shouldn't be like, I'm not saying that that's like wrong, but a child needs a bedroom.
Yeah.
You know, like period. She just does. And she needs a schedule, and she needs like to be not, you know, she does very well like in daycare. Like she doesn't do well, just she does more better structure in a structured schedule, you know what I mean? And right now he's like, he's always just been like, he won't take her on his days. He doesn't think he has to take her to daycare or anything that she's supposed to do, because those are his days, he says, and his time with her. And I'm like, you have to understand that she has a life. So if she's in like soccer and you have a day with her when she has practice, you have to bring her to her soccer practice. You don't just get to say, this is my day, so everything is canceled.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
right.
it doesn't, like, he doesn't want to bring her to daycare. Like, but she has a daycare voucher, and he will make me lose it if he doesn't bring her. And that's the other thing. I asked DCF for a daycare voucher like a million times for my son when we were like in the case, because I wanted to start going back to school, to go to law school, and I needed him in daycare. And I asked a million times for a daycare voucher, and they said, no, we're not doing daycare vouchers. So I started paying out of my pocket for him to go. And and he was going and a few days a week. My daughter was 5 days a week, but he was going just a couple, like just to start him going, you know, because he had just been with me his whole life. So I started him on like a couple days a week. And so when they took him, I asked if he was going to stay in daycare, and I said I was paying out of my pocket. She said, "We'll get him a voucher." I'm like, "Are you kidding me? I literally asked you like 30 times for a voucher, and you said no, that you guys weren't doing them right now because of COVID." Like they literally did nothing for me. Like not one positive thing. They were supposed to help me with a crib. They didn't. Like a daycare voucher. No, they didn't do. Not like sometimes they can do. They can help you out a little bit, you know, like with vouchers and stuff like that. They literally just caused me worse things, like to lose my housing. And they were like, "If you lose your housing, don't worry, we'll help you get an apartment."
Who said
Yeah,
that?
my DCF worker. Yeah, okay. I'm really trusting on that one. No, actually, I feel like I'm gonna lose my kids because then you're gonna say I'm homeless. That's probably how it would have went.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like they put my housing in jeopardy. They put my daughter's custody. They left me no choice but to revoke my releases and lawyer up at that point. You know, because they weren't like budging with me at all. So I pretty much got my kids removed because I got a lawyer and stopped talking to them directly, which apparently is imminent danger. Not.
Wow.
Yeah. When they come, they should be able to tell you exactly what the neglect and abuse is to your kids and why they're taking them.
I agree.
And if they can't do that, then they're lying to the judge because they don't have anything. So they have this. If like people that are watching aren't familiar, when they go for the emergency custody, they have the sole ear of the judge. You don't get to be there to say your side or anything. They're the only ones talking to the judge, so they can say whatever they want because they know that once they have your kids, you're probably going to just comply with anything that they want because they have your kids. So their lives are never going to get exposed because you're just going to do what they want to get your kids back. So people ask like, why would they risk lying to a judge? Because they know that they're probably going to get away, 95% going to get away with it because one, people don't have enough money to fight them, and two, they're just going to comply and get their kids back, and just most people just get their kids back and just try to forget about DCF. They don't make it like a mission to expose them or anything, or they just
Right.
and I get that. I did that with my daughter too. I knew the system was messed up, and once I got my kid back, I was just done. I wasn't dealing with them anymore, but now I want to like I don't think I can ever move past this problem. Like I feel like I want to go to law school and work in this kind of like law and help people fight them. I don't think I can go on with my life just ignoring this issue because it's just too heartbreaking for too many people. And if I can help just anybody through it, it's worth it to me.
I think that would be amazing.
Yeah. So that's my story. Like I said, no happy ending yet, but maybe I can come on with like an update.
I would love that.
Yeah, when things start happening or more, when I have more to say. But I do appreciate you having me on.
Well, I'm glad that you came on, and I hope you get them back, and I hope you enjoy your visits that you have with them.
Yeah. They're not going to see me ever upset or mad or angry or anything. And like my visits with my son are my time with my son. And I don't want to be talked about the case at all. I will not do that with my 1 hour of time with my son. They try to talk to you in those visits the whole time. It's like so disrespectful,
Yep.
So that's not happening tomorrow. All I'm going to say to her is, I've seen the affidavit. And that's it. Like, pretty much saying, I know you lied on the affidavit,
Yep.
And that's it, because they do, if you're like emotional and crying and all that at your visits, they're going to use that against you.
They do.
You know, they definitely
Use
do.
everything against you, though. They
Yeah,
really do.
they do. I mean, if you're not crying, they could use that against you. I mean, they can literally do whatever, you know. They put in the affidavit that a counselor that I talked to one time, and she was like cutting me off, so I just started answering with like yes or no answers, you know. And I told my worker that, and she was like, yeah, I know, she's kind of annoying, she did the same thing to me. So in the affidavit, she actually put that counselor said that I was answering with one word answers, so she thought I was hiding something and that I had postpartum depression. They put that in the affidavit, and I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I talked to her once, but the bigger issue I have with that is that nobody brought that up to me. Postpartum depression is very serious. And if a counselor says that to you as a social worker, that they think somebody has postpartum depression, you as a social worker should definitely reach out and ask that person if they're struggling, if they need help, are they experiencing any symptoms of postpartum depression? And nobody brought that up to me, which means that they obviously didn't believe it, you know? But now they put it in an affidavit to the court.
But I don't think that if somebody does have postpartum, that it should be used against them.
No, definitely not. That's it. Definitely not. It's crazy. Like, there's so much stuff they use against you that they shouldn't. You know how many people have postpartum depression? You know how many kids, if they had to take just for that, you know, it's just like, but they put that in an affidavit to the judge, like to make it seem like that was a big issue in the case when it was never brought up to me. You know what I mean? Like, never. And I didn't have postpartum depression, you know, like I was fine. I just didn't like that counselor cutting me off. So I just started answering with yes or no questions because you're not listening to me. So why am I going to explain answers when you're just cutting it off? You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so just the affidavit is like, if you, so like when you, I just like when okay, for in my case, when we go to court, what you have to do, or what a lot of what I'm going to do is you only want to argue what's in the affidavit. So you don't want to argue something that's not in there, because those are the reasons that they're saying they're taking the kids, right? So you need to go through that affidavit piece by piece and make your own affidavit.
Yeah.
That with documents behind it to disprove what they are saying on their side. So you just piece by piece look over their stupid affidavit and just where they're lying or where they're, you know, stretching the truth or whatever you have to back up that they're not lying, you know, make your own affidavit, declaration of facts or whatever. You just like, I just can't, you need like the document, everything. That's like so key. And
Yeah.
you know, you can't just go into a judge and say what happened. You have to prove it with, you know, documents and everything like that.
Yeah.
And that's what is like going to be a deciding factor. Like in a lot of cases, they look at the documents, you know.
Yeah.
Of course, your testimony matters too. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, if you can break down what they said with proof, then it will work a lot in your favor. I also took a hair follicle test too, that I'm waiting for the results to come back. So if it comes back clean, the lawyer said like that's going to be a huge like a huge thing, because it's like your only concern is that she's using. We have a hair follicle test that goes back 6 months or whatever. What are your concerns now? Exactly. I'm a little worried about it because my lawyer told me it goes back 90 days and that should be fine. But then I took it, they told me it goes back 6 months, and my son is 5 months. And like I said, I had a C-section and painkillers in the hospital, but it wasn't a lot. Like I've read that the hair follicle test is more of like heavy drug catching. Like if you took painkillers for 2 days 5 months ago, it's probably not going to come up.
Right.
So we'll see. You know, we'll see. Like if it fails, then it's not going to be used against me because it's not, you know, it's independently done. So
right.
And if it fails, it's failing because of prescribed medicine. So,
Yeah.
but if it goes back 90 days, it's gonna be fine, you know. And that would be like a huge, and I had to pay for that, and I had to pay these. I mean, like, if there's an avenue to sue, I'm definitely doing it. They've cost me so much money. Drug tests alone are $200 a pop for the
Not just
urines.
for money, you know, they're all these moments with your children.
Yeah, no,
Never
that's the
get
biggest
that.
thing. Yeah, like the emotional like damage, but on top of that too, like just like blowing money on like the hair test was $800. The hair follicle test, it's like this. It's worth it to me. I'm not complaining, and I'm very like grateful that I'm able to do it. But if there's an avenue to sue, I'm totally doing it. You know, like for sure. And I know it's hard to sue them, but it's possible. People have done it,
Yeah.
and I think most people sue with a violation of like our civil rights with them is the best way to sue them. So I don't know. And I know it's hard to find a lawyer to sue them too. A lot of them are like, no, not even getting in it.
Yeah.
So it's hard to find a lawyer to even fight them sometimes. I had a couple lawyers that were like, no, those people are impossible. One of them said, those people are impossible. I took a case, they're 70 grand in to the case with no end in sight. Like he's like, they're impossible people to deal with.
Yeah.
But luckily there are attorneys that do deal with them. But like that just shows though, like how difficult they are. If
Right.
a lot of lawyers are like, no, not even doing, not for any amount of money, not doing it, you know.
Yep. So, well, Jackie, I appreciate you coming on and sharing, and let me know what happens. Maybe
Totally.
we can do a second part, you know.
Yeah. No, definitely. I'd be totally up for that. That would be great. I will keep you updated.
Sounds good. I hope you have a good day.
Thank you. You too.
All right.